best sports show in Kansas City. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW Radio, where sports come alive. Join your hosts, The Awesome Voice and Coach 24, as they dive into the latest sports news, analysis, and excitement. From the biggest games to the most thrilling moments, they've got it all covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an hour of unbeatable sports action. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW Radio.
Are you passionate about technology and eager to inspire the next generation? Join the Black Family Technology Awareness Association's VEX Robotics program for youth ages 13 through 18. Or
hello there. Welcome to the Weekend Eve. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW. I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice, the Coach 24, Darwin Penny. He is still scouting great players for us so we can continue on this run that we have for the Kansas City Royals. And behind the scenes, running the show, DJ Scatter, Mr. George Walker. Mr. Walker, how are you doing this evening?
well, I'm trying to work these buttons, but I'm doing just fine.
Now, you know what?
I'm actually glad you're working the buttons and not me.
Yeah, absolutely. And our guest tonight, Shane Allen. Shane, how you doing tonight?
Another great week. Glad to be here. And, man, I always love coming here, so it's a great time.
Absolutely. So, saying this, we have this computer-generated voice that is talking with us and saying, you know, you're listening to KUAW. You know what? It would have been really awesome if James Earl Jones could have done this, and he passed away a couple of days ago. And I'm telling you what, he was 93 years old, and you go, okay, he lived a great life, but it was still so sad because he was so phenomenal, arguably the best voice ever.
Absolutely the best voice, and the good news with AI now, we can probably make that happen at some point. I don't know how it's going to happen, but
right.
I'm pretty sure with technology we can probably make it happen. But you're talking about James Earl Jones. I mean, you think about Star Wars and all the movies he was in. He had Field of Dreams. Oh my gosh! If you build it, they will come.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
I mean, you can't beat that voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know Bob Kendrick was talking because he did a movie with the Negro Leagues, and I do not remember what the movie is called. So Bob, I apologize, but you know, he was in it when he was a young guy, roughly about 40 years old. So you know, that was a long time ago, but he was 93 years old. He was a phenomenal voice, and like you said, Field of Dreams, one of the best baseball movies ever made. And you had him and Kevin Costner. Whether he's had horrible movies or not, Kevin Costner was phenomenal in that movie.
Phenomenal. I mean, if you think about everybody that was in that movie, Ray Liotta, all those guys. I mean, I've been to Field of Dreams 3 times. Every time I go to Wisconsin, I stop by there, and I've seen the controversy of the two families, and they finally came together, and they bought the other side of the farm to make it the real deal. But it's one of those places you have to go, even though it's been, 30 years now?
Mm-hmm.
The Field of Dreams is definitely a great place to go to. Very nostalgic, and it's still the same field's still there. I can't remember the name of the characters, but Ray loves Annie, I think's her name. It's still carved in one of the benches there that Kevin Costner actually carved out. It's still there today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That now, see, that's amazing. And do they still play a game each year?
Yeah, so they built a stadium 3 years ago, like a minor league stadium. So Major League Baseball plays a game every year in Iowa. I think it started off with the Chicago White Sox, and I can't remember the other team. But, yeah, every year they do play a game there at the Field of Dreams there in Dyersville, Iowa.
Oh, man. That's awesome. So, you know, people are talking about bucket lists. That would be a bucket list for sure.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, talking about the Royals came in. They were playing Minnesota last weekend. We were worried because they had totally limped into that series. We were talking about the gauntlet, the 20 games of hard baseball, as you would say, and wondering if they were going to make it because Minnesota had their number all year long. And so Kansas City turned around and they swept Minnesota Twins.
Yeah. I was pretty excited for that. I think the last time I was on the show, we talked about the Royals need to at least take half the games from the Guardians and from the Twins. Well, they did. We got swept by the Guardians. You know, we took all of them from the Twins. We needed that.
Yes, we did, absolutely. And in the gauntlet, we were talking about, what their record would be if they did this, this, and this. Well, they were 9-11,
right,
which means they are still in the playoffs, and they are second wild card, so they are ahead of the Minnesota Twins. They are, which the Twins is the third wild card, and then you have the Boston Red Sox and you have the Detroit Tigers that are fighting to try to get into that third wild card. And right now, when the Royals were struggling, you thought, oh man, you just thought the worst. But then everybody else didn't play well with them.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what happened. It happens in baseball like that. Everything goes in streaks, and I believe that teams feed off each other. You see a team not doing so well, maybe you're not playing as well. So at the same time, if another team's playing well, you step it up a little bit more. And I think that's kind of what happened this last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the one thing, so we got the sweep. So now we go into New York, hoping a little bit because New York had not been playing New York baseball. They were struggling a little bit. So just like the Phillies came in the same way, and we were hoping to take advantage of it. And we turned around. We got blew out the first game thanks to the bullpen. And James MacArthur, I hate to say it, do not put him in any key situation. Now, if the Royals are up 5 or 6 runs or down 5 or 6 runs, put him in. But do not put him in if you're expecting him to keep a lead or trying to stay within a run or two.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to comment on that. It's just one of those things where it's just coaching just was not the best at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So then they turned around the next night. They won
right,
a couple of home runs. Salvador had one. Pham had one. And then last night, and I was watching the game. I was watching the game between that and the WNBA with the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. And so I was just like, okay, Reagan's kept them in the game. And, and then it was tied after 9 innings. But the Royals just kept blowing opportunities, and eventually they ended up losing in 11 innings, which made it seem like it was a good game. It was a close game, but I was still not happy. And here's the worst thing is our top of our lineup, whether you put Pham in there or Garcia or Massey or whatever, Bobby Witt Jr. is not performing well. Anybody after Salvador Perez is not playing well. Bobby Witt Jr., when we start after the Angels game on August 21st, he was batting .350. He was just smoking. He was the hottest, one of the hottest hitters in baseball. He's the leading hitter, and now, virtually 3-4 weeks later, he is averaging .333. Yes, he's still leading the Major League Baseball in average, but he really hasn't been producing lately.
So there's a couple of talks about that. I was at the game and I was listening to some people, or maybe it was here or somewhere I heard it, but I went to a lot of games the last couple of weeks, and I was kind of watching him, and I think the absence of Hunter Renfroe and Vinny has made an impact. I think both Perez and Bobby Witt Jr. have some big shoes they're trying to fill, and I think they're trying to overachieve, maybe swing a little bit harder than they need to. Bobby Witt's a base hit swinger. I mean, yeah, he can hit a home run. He get triples. He's the fastest guy, I think, in Major League Baseball right now. But at the end of the day, I think he's trying way too hard. I think when Vinny comes back, things will change a little bit. And I think because Vinny's gone, that has hurt Bobby Witt a lot.
Well, I think one of the other things is he's been impatient at the plate.
Absolutely.
And every time they throw an off-speed pitch outside, low and outside, he seems to swing at every single one of them, and that has been killing him.
Yeah, and so, but that's also different than not having like Vinny around as well, because pitchers will do different things based on the lineup, and if they know that Bobby Witt is swinging at everything, that's what they're going to throw to him. They're going to throw that low outside every time.
Right, absolutely. So now they go to Pittsburgh tomorrow. Well, they're probably already there now, but they play Pittsburgh tomorrow for a 3-game series. Skinks, did I say that right? Paul Skinks.
Yep.
the Rookie of the Year possibility in the National League. They will not play against him this weekend, so we have an opportunity. We have to win 2 out of 3. Yes, if you lose all 3, we're still in the playoff hunt, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, they need to win 2 out of 3 or sweep the Pirates.
I'm going to tell you right now, Royals are in a place right now where they're in a do-or-die situation. If they don't start winning ball games these next 2.5 weeks, their playoffs are just probably going to go down the tubes.
Right.
I hate to say it like that, but that's the facts. I believe that I think after these next 2.5 weeks, I think we play, 12 games, 14 games, something like that. We have to win 10 of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have 4 series left. Oh,
Right.
no, 5, because we have 1 on the road, 2 at home, and then 2 on the road.
Right.
So we got 5 more series left, roughly 14, 15 games.
Yeah.
Actually, it's 15 games. At least they get – and they have no excuse. They have a day off each week. So they're only playing 6 games a week and not 7 games, or playing 14 games in 13 days and stuff like that. But they just need to continue on this trend, because Boston can get hot. Even Detroit can get hot. We know that Cleveland is going to win the division, even though right now the Royals, if they got hot, could take over that division.
I mean, they could. They're only 4.5 games back. We still got a lot of games left. 3 days, we're at the top of the list with a couple of losses and a couple of wins. So I think our biggest competition coming in here will be actually the Giants coming up. I think that's our biggest competition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're playing a lot of teams that we've, kind of manhandled throughout the season, and hopefully it continues. And,
Yeah.
And if we continue that, that's the only reason why, or if we accomplish that, that's the only reason why we're going to hold on to that wild card spot. We want a higher wild card spot. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right, absolutely. So the thing of it is, now let's just use hypothetical. Let's just say the Royals end up in second. So if they end up the second wild card, they will end up playing the first wild card, which is more than likely the loser of the AL East, which would be Baltimore or the Yankees. Or if they are third, then they will play the second. Well, no, it's the third team,
Right.
which is the Houston Astros. Who would you want the Royals to play? Baltimore Yankees or Houston Astros?
Baltimore.
Really?
Absolutely. We talked about it last time I was here. You can't go to Yankee Stadium, or the Yankees are just always going to be a tough team. Houston is a powerhouse. They've always been a powerhouse. I believe in that team. I want to say Baltimore. Who are you thinking?
Well, I really don't know. I was like, it was like either get shot in the head or shot between the eyes or stabbed 100 times.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not gonna be good. But
Yeah.
I probably agree with you with Baltimore. Now, saying that, I was thinking immediately how Baltimore dominated them early in the season, but it was early in the season.
Right.
Now Houston controlled them, but the Royals still had a shot at even winning 2 out of 3, which is something that the Royals have not done in New York with the Yankees since 2014.
Yeah, I mean, I went there, this year for a Yankees game, and it's always tough to win there. I think the Royals, at the end of the day, Bobby Witt has to get on point. There's no doubt about that. Bobby Witt has to get on point. I think he's struggling right now, but he's a grinder. I actually feel like he's just going to grind it out. He's going to come back. He's going to do great things for the Royals. I think these next 2.5 weeks are going to be very exciting. And you know what? I still am optimistic that we could still take our division. And if we take our division, that's a whole new ballgame. We're talking really good odds at the World Series at that point.
Right. And I agree with you at that point. But Bobby Witt has to go back to how he was in July and August. Because if he goes the way he's been playing the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's not going to happen at all.
But let's look at our leadoff hitter, Pham. Pham he's been doing a great job. I think I don't know if the game you and I went to, but he had a big home run.
Home
run. I mean,
3-run homer.
Yeah, I mean, he does great things at the top of that lineup that puts that takes a little pressure off the second, third, and fourth batter. Just by getting on base, it makes it a lot easier because then you're probably going to get that fourth batter, and that's what's huge. That's why you always need a great leadoff hitter. But then you look at the back, you got Isabel, which I actually love Isabel. He's kind of in a slump right now. Massey's doing great. I love Garcia, second baseman Garcia. I think he's phenomenal. These guys are only going to get better. So I don't want to talk about next year now because we're still in this year, but I think next year is going to be even better.
Right, absolutely. But if we are going to start talking about next year, then that tells us that this year is going to end up folding up. And I know that they're not going to fold out.
That's what they said in 14, though.
Right.
That's what they said in 14.
That is true. But the good thing about them is they are like 14 and 15.
They are.
They're gutters. They will fight to the death, and they will keep fighting. We just need the pitching to continue. And Lugo, Tuesday night, I mean, he oh my gosh, I sometimes I'm speechless with how well he performed. There's only been a couple of pitchers that have gone into Yankee Stadium and do that, and the Royals pitching staff is the first team to do this in New York, whether it was old New York Yankee Stadium or the new Yankee Stadium, to have a shutout, three hits or less, and struck out and did not walk any and struck out 14.
Yeah, I saw that stat too, and I was pretty impressed by that. That's a big deal to walk in Yankee Stadium and do that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they've been around for like 110 years, and this is the best start. Yeah. That is amazing, and including because you would think, okay, maybe a Houston team or a California team that with Nolan Ryan or heck, all those great pitchers that came up in the 70s and 80s, and yet this team that lost 106 games last year, which now they have won 80 games. And if anybody was gambling and bet the Royals would win more games than they lost, all they have to do is win 2 more games, and they got that.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy challenge. I mean, but we knew. I think we knew this kind of coming into the All-Star break that this was a different type of team.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that was like 14 and 15. And we talk about other teams, back in history, whether it be the Boston White Sox or the Yankees, or even the Dodgers and stuff like that. Those guys have star players all throughout their lineup, and so we have Garcia, Massey, Pham. Who's heard of these guys up until this year?
Really?
I mean, honestly, we don't know who anybody is except for Bobby Witt and Perez. I mean, and a few of our starting pitchers, ish. But that's what I love about these guys. They're all about grit. They don't care. They have absolutely nothing to lose.
No.
I mean, the Royals probably traded them like they always do, but, that they do that every year to all of our great stars, and that's
right. But
topic.
But they have not done that this year.
This year, not yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen because I think
it won't happen this year. But
I think if it did, it would have already happened.
Absolutely. But my point is, these guys are grit. These guys are the real deal. They're not the Yankees. They're not the Boston Red Sox. They're not the Dodgers. They are a team made up of school kid boys like Sandlot that just want to go out every day and play hard and try to win a World Series.
Okay, so I have a question for you. In 2013, we traded for James Shields, Wade Davis, and then we gave away Myers to Tampa Bay. And then last year, we traded Chapman and got Cole Reagans. Which trade has been the better trade?
I always liked Wade Davis. I mean, I really did like Wade Davis. But when you're talking about pitchers, I think it's a different ballgame if you're talking about players, or position players. I think pitchers, it could go either way depending on the year. I mean, you can look at what was the guy that pitched Greinke went to Houston and came back. They all have their moments, and then they come back. So you just really never know on pitchers. So we're talking pitchers. It's really it's hard for me to really say which is which for that.
Absolutely.
What do you think that is, though?
You know what? I used to think Wade Davis, because Wade Davis is a flat-out stud.
Yeah.
James Shields was a great pitcher. Well, he was a good pitcher because he started struggling, and Wade Davis made the trade better. If it was just James Shields, it would have never happened. So I really think Cole Reagans, because they were turning around. They were wanting a relief pitcher, which the relief pitcher gave Texas their first and only championship, and then gave us Cole Reagans, and they were kind of like, okay, well, he's a little damaged. He had Tommy John surgery, so how is this going? And then he's all he's done has been lights out. So I'm going to say Cole Reagans.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's pitchers. I don't
Right,
know.
right.
It's hard for me to really say on pitchers.
Well, and I'm telling you, because I guess in 2014 there was a lot of players that helped make the Royals and make them as great as they are. There are a lot of Royals this year, but Cole Reagans being the ace of the squad and really carrying the team along with Lugo and Waka, I believe is the reason why I say Cole Reagans.
So what's your thought on Singer this year?
Well, and Singer too. Singer, I'm impressed with Singer. Yeah, he's had his moments where he pitched dominant against teams like White Sox and the lower ranked teams, but he struggled against the upper teams. But he pitched great. I want to say it was against Minnesota.
Yeah.
So so he has came back. He still needs to get better. He still needs to improve, but that's a good thing because he's still young enough. It's not like he's over the hill and he's going downhill. So he's still got an upside. He's still got a lot more to go for.
Yeah, the one, and also to go along with that, our middle pitching seems to be coming along. Who was the guy last week that held to only 2 runs for all that time? Then we got to come back 4-2. I think it was the Minnesota game. But that middle reliever we had just killed it.
Well, they were Schreiber. It wasn't.
It wasn't Schreiber.
wasn't MacArthur. Bubich.
Yeah. I mean, he came in, and his job is to maintain the lead, and he did that until the 8th inning. We can come back and score those 4 runs and come back and win that game, and that's what I like to see because all season long it seems like we're losing these games in the middle and in late innings, and that's a big deal that we can start getting some middle help like that.
Well, and like I was saying earlier, like in Minnesota. They were down, and then they scored the 4 runs. I believe it was the second game of the series, so it was Saturday.
Yeah.
So then they scored the 4 runs. They ended up winning 4-2, and finally got it together. You cannot continue on struggling getting runs the first 6 innings and then trying to come back from behind, especially with this relieving unit because – they could show up for a few moments, but most of the time they really have struggled.
They have struggled. And, we went to the game on, I don't know what night it was, Thursday or Friday last week, and you even said it, we're not scoring runs.
Oh, it was Wednesday.
Yeah, we just weren't scoring runs before the 6th inning, and it's just like, I don't know any team in Major League Baseball that can't score at least a couple runs before then. You will lose ball games, and that's what's been happening the last 2 or 3 weeks. We just have not been winning ball games because of that reason right there.
Right, absolutely. And we were talking about that because they had only scored like 1 run in the Houston and Cleveland series, and it was just like, oh, my goodness. So they have gotten it back a little bit, but that upper lineup with Salvi, and, yes, Salvi shows up every once in a while, but then – he is not consistent. Bobby Witt Jr. needs to get back to his July and early August playing, and he is the team leader. I mean, yes, Salvi is the captain. He is what is that? Captain Royal?
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's actually Bobby Witt's team, and Bobby Witt needs to be like George Brett, show up and have the other team in fear with them whenever he comes up the bat.
That's always the hope, but you know this as much as I do. Like, if you look at Patrick Mahomes's, and we'll get to Chiefs next segment, but if you look at Patrick Mahomes' first season, he was breaking all these records, did everything they needed to do. I believe it's the same thing as the Patrick Mahomes syndrome. After a couple of years, Patrick Mahomes wasn't as well because now these other teams are starting to read him more and more. I think the pitching are starting to do their scouting towards the late half of this season because he might have changed something at the beginning of this year to be so great. I think they're figuring that out now, and that also plays a part of it. Hopefully it's not, but I think that also plays a part in it.
Well, then he needs to build up a more repertoire because, like Patrick Mahomes, he develops more. He adds more to his resume, and Bobby Witt needs to do that. Yet now saying that, yes, he is 24 years old. He is going to be here for another 10 to 12, 13 years. But at the same time, he still needs to help improve. And if, and it's odd because last year they were completely horrible. And this year you were like, well, we wasn't sure where they were going to go. But they are in a playoff hunt. if they do not make the playoffs, I am going to be disappointed. It's not going to be like, oh, well, where you give every kid a trophy just for participating. No, you don't get that for just trying or a try trophy. The Royals need to continue on doing what they have been going through all year long. They have been fighting and fighting and fighting, and there's no need to totally lose it now with roughly 15 games left.
Yeah, I can't see the Royals completely losing it right now with 15 games left. Again, these are professional players that get paid a lot of money. You can say a lot of things on how you want to take that. But at the same time, the Royals right now, and I know we're getting ready close in this segment, the Royals are in a position right now to at the very least, to make the playoffs. I do believe that's going to happen regardless. I don't think we can play this well or this bad in the next 15 games and not make that happen. Now, then we got to start worrying about who we're going to play and stuff. I mean, we have a tough battle ahead. I mean, we are playing some of the best teams in Major League Baseball. And out of these 5 or 6 teams, if you take the 5 or 6 teams that's going to be in the playoffs, I think we're number 4. I don't, as far as rankings.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And unlike 14 and 15, when we seemed like we didn't really play the top-notch teams because we played Baltimore, we played I call them California, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
I just said Anaheim.
Yeah. So, they swept them. That was Mike Trout's only playoff appearance in his entire time in the league, and Bobby Witt Jr. could be in more playoff series than Mike Trout in 2 or 3 seasons. So
yeah.
I'm not complaining about this, but at the same time, you want to build on this, and you still expect them to win. Look, like I said, in 77, they won 102 games. I still got upset when they lose a game. Last night, I was upset when they lost. They should not have lost that game. And so the Royals are going to keep learning. They're going to keep getting better, but this is now. And it's not like last year where, well, if we can just beat these guys, that'll be good. That'll be our season. No, we've got more to go. Well, I should say the Royals have more to go by making it to the playoffs and continuing. And they're going to play the Yankees. They're going to play Houston. They're going to play some great playoff teams, unlike the teams in 2014, 2015. I don't think those were as great as teams as they are this year.
No, they definitely were not. I was looking about who we played back then, San Francisco. I mean, I think we were still a better team than San Francisco.
Well, Baumgartner actually beat us. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but
he's a playoff player, though. Baumgartner is.
Oh,
a
yeah.
beast.
He was. And I admit it, and that was Joe Buck's girlfriend. So, I mean, I totally all that. But nonetheless. But still, I mean, we played the Angels. We played Baltimore. Oakland in a one game. I mean, if you look at them now, you'd go, oh, my gosh, Baltimore is the only one that's even halfway decent. So, but with that, we are at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW. Shane Allen came in. We've got George Walker, DJ Scatter, and then we have Coach 24, and I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk some football. All right, we are back for the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. We got Shane Allen here. We've got George Walker behind the scenes. We got Coach 24 not here tonight, but he is in our spirits, and I'm Brian Kress, the awesome voice. Now, we were going to start talking football, but we were going to do we were going to talk about how the Kansas City fans resonate with the team itself. Now, you have a story with a person named Kerry Newman.
Yeah, it's Kerry Newman. I met these guys, I think, 2 seasons ago. They came in for the Chiefs game. Now, they live in New York City.
Okay.
Just so you're clear. And we have this tailgate of 2 different tailgates, and they put their car dab in the middle of both of these tailgates. And I see them eating these sandwiches out of the styrofoam thing, and I went over and I started talking to them, and next thing you know, they're joining our tailgate. Now, let me digress and go back a little bit. I've been to San Diego. I've been to the Raiders. I've been to a lot of places for tailgate, and there's always a Chiefs fan somewhere to welcome me in. I promise you it always happens. So when I see stuff like this, I'm always like, hey, come join our tailgate and have a good time. Now, the story is their daughter Kayla is a huge Chiefs fan. Huge Chiefs fan.
Now, what is Kerry's fan?
They're Jets fans.
Okay,
well,
they're Jets.
well, they live in New York. I know they go to a lot of Jets games. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so we'll just say they're Jets fans.
And so the very next year, the Chiefs were playing. Last year, the Chiefs were playing the Jets up in
New York.
New York,
which when we first saw Taylor Swift.
That might have been when we first saw Taylor Swift. So they're like, hey, just so you know. And I said, well, I'll get a plane out there, And next thing you know, I had a great weekend with them. Now, I never would have met these guys. I never would have had this connection if it wasn't for the Chiefs. It's kind of crazy. And it's so, well, the point of all is this: you do the right thing, good things are going to happen. I went to the Yankees game with these guys this year. It was Kayla's birthday, 16th birthday, and we got her a bunch of Chiefs stuff and had a great time. But I just want to say that Chiefs Kingdom and the fans, we will connect no matter where you are, as long as you're just wearing that jersey. And I say it all the time: we're not in this Chiefs fans. We're Chiefs family. And the people I've met people from Canada. I've met people from Atlanta. There's this guy named Ashley from England that came over and tailgated with us. Those are our Chiefs family, no matter where you are across the world.
Oh, man, and that's amazing because considering, we do have great fans and we do communicate with their – and unlike last weekend when the Chargers and the Raiders were fighting in the stadium and outside the stadium, it's like, come on, really? Are you serious? We don't do that. We will poke fun at people, but – you can poke fun back at us, and we're good with it. It's like, hey, at least if you're going to do it, make it a good one.
I love my Chiefs. I love my Royals. I got a buddy I went to high school with. His name is Brian O'Connor. He's the manager for the Virginia Cavaliers, and he was facing, for the first time in his life, he was going to the finals for the College World Series, and he lost. We went out to dinner, and I thought he'd be like, distraught. He's like, hey, there's another season next year. At the end of the day, it's football. Football should not be for fighting and all this other stuff. Football is supposed to bring everybody together and have a good time. Yeah, we're going to have our teams, we're going to have our rivalries, but we don't need to get beat up and go to jail or go to the hospital. It just makes no sense. Just love everybody and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And so I love the Chiefs fans, and they are amazing. And, I don't know if there's a poll out there, but I guarantee you I would put Kansas City as the number one set of fans. Now, obviously, if you go somewhere else, if you go to New York, you go to Philadelphia, you go to L.A., they would say that was totally different. Now, and even Denver. And Denver, I've got a sore subject with them, and I will talk about that later. But so now we're going to go into football. So last Thursday after the show, the Chiefs were playing. Well, actually, they had a 20-minute delay because of the weather.
Right.
But, they had the Chiefs. They had the Ravens. It was a great Thursday night matchup, and I can't see it because I'm blind as a bat.
Carrie just commented on we're live on Facebook. She said, agreed, KC fans are the best people. And she lives in New York and is a New York fan. So
thank you, Carrie. Greatly appreciate that. So, but, the Chiefs start off. They put up their banners. I believe, did they get the rings
last week? No, they got that.
Okay,
they got the rings
they got those
a couple months ago. Yeah,
at
the the art center.
Right. Well, maybe they just celebrated
Right.
it or
Yeah.
something. But they had the banners. They had Quentin Hall
Yep.
banging the drum, the gold medal 400 meter man from Paris. So that was awesome. And so the Chiefs were playing, and the Ravens seem like they played the exact same way they did in the AFC Championship. They bring in Derrick Henry, this guy that's supposed to be bruiser, is supposed to be running all over people, and he showed up for a quarter. He got a touchdown. He was playing well, and then he disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, I love Derrick Henry. I think he's probably one of the best power running backs you're going to see. If you look at the difference between Derrick Henry and Isaiah Pacheco, they're two totally different runners. And,
Right.
And I'm starting to wonder now if the power running backs are going to be a thing of the past.
Well, I mean, the running backs are almost a thing of the past as itself.
Right.
I mean, you got to be multi-dimensional, kind of Eckler. You had Marcus Allen that slipped through the line and get the touchdowns, but you had Christian Okoye, you had Barry Word that pounded the ball right down your throat, and it's not like that anymore. You have the power passing. You want it faster. You want it.
And I think that's also the evolution of football. I think the defensive linemen have gotten bigger and stronger, so you can't just pound anymore like
Right.
you used to. You have to outsmart them. You got to be faster than the defensive line.
Well, and so with that, the Chiefs ended up beating the Ravens. Now, they beat them by virtually a toe because likely caught the ball, one toe out. But here's the thing. I mean, the Ravens wasn't too happy about it, but they were okay. It was more the fans. Now it's like, oh, the Chiefs get all these calls. The refs are horrible. Oh, my gosh, give them a break. Look, if Patrick Mahomes, or I should say Patrick Mahomes doesn't go 20 for 20 for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns every game, he is going to make mistakes. He threw an interception. He throws incomplete passes. The officials are going to miss a call every once in a while. It's what happened. It's called human error, and yet we're in a time where we use the computer to try to show.
They don't care about the Ravens. They don't care about anybody.
Right.
They're actually struggling just like any given player is, trying to make it to the next week so they can ref again the next week. So they're going to try to do the best job they can, period. I don't
Right.
care what anybody says.
Absolutely. So now the Chiefs are at home again. They are going to play Cincinnati. Well, we came into the season, okay, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has had our number. Well, Joe Burrow had our number 4 years ago. He hasn't been the same since. The Chiefs have beaten him since. They've beaten him twice, but last year he was out with a wrist injury. But here was the thing. Cincinnati was supposed to take care of business against New England, and they did not take care of business.
Cincinnati, the Patriots have one of the worst defenses, and, he only threw 160 yards the whole game. And, I think a lot of that falls on Jamar Chase with his contract situation. He didn't get the reps. I mean, he dropped a crucial touchdown in the end zone that should have been caught, no doubt in my mind.
Well, and that's how that – and that's another thing that I have an issue with, training camp. Marty Schottenheimer, okay, and I'm going back a ways, but when they at least had camp, they've had physical practices and they've tackled, and this year or now they don't want to do that. They don't want to get the players hurt. Well, the problem is these players get hurt more because they don't get acclimated. So look, Jamar Chase hadn't practiced all year long. Now, maybe he was running around, he was sprinting, he was getting in shape, but he was not in football shape.
He didn't take the reps. You can do all the running around you want to do, but if you don't take the reps with your quarterback, with your team, you will not be at your professional level you need to be. And it showed last week. He was not on his A game. And
Right.
I don't think he's going to be on his A game this week either. I just don't.
No. And here's the thing with Patrick Mahomes. He takes his wide receivers and his receivers and goes to Texas, and they go down there and they bond. They throw passes, and they don't have all those issues. Yes, I know that people want to get paid, and I don't blame them. They deserve to get paid. They play well enough where they need to get paid. But still, you're with Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the cheapest organization, and as long as Mike Brown is around, you might as well deal with that. You have T. Higgins was struggling. He doesn't have a contract either. Yeah, they paid Joe Burrow, but still, the thing of it is that you got to be available. Your best ability is availability, and if you're not there at practice, if you're not there in the games, it doesn't matter.
Who was it last season that did it for us? Was it Clark or Jones that held out the entire spring training?
It was
Jones. It was Jones. And that's insane to me. And I was mad about that the whole time. So I'm going to be honest with you. They're linebackers. They are very replaceable. Now, is Jones probably one of the best? Yeah.
Well, Jones is the defensive end.
Okay. But he's replaceable.
Right.
And for him to hold out and miss the entire camp, I have a problem with that. And the Chiefs have more patience than I do. I would kick them to the curb and tell them to move on because that's just my mentality. But I don't like that at all. If you miss camp, you get penalized. Period. And he did. He got he got penalized $100,000 a camp or something. But that's nothing.
Well, how about that Jets player? He got traded from Philadelphia. Haddock. He got traded from Philadelphia to the Jets, and he hasn't played. He has lost like $2 million, and he gets docked $800,000 a game, so he's already lost one game. He's not going to play this game, and he's expecting to get paid. And
here's the thing, though. When does it become about money, and when does it just become for the love of the game? And I know that we're talking these guys. I get it. They want their money. They think they're worth it, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But again, it's football.
Right.
It should be something they're getting paid to do. You would go out there for $100,000 a game. I'd go out there for $50,000 a game and just have a good time. I'd go out there for free right now, to be honest with you. But
right, absolutely.
But I mean, I understand it's a game of numbers, but at some point we got to get back to where it's football and it's what we love to do as kids, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, and here's the other thing: the two best quarterbacks in the last 25 years is Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. They have been to the most Super Bowls. Of all the teams combined, they virtually have been to more Super Bowls. And what did they do?
They take pay cuts.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes gets paid. He gets paid very well. But he is not the top quarterback or the most paid quarterback in the league. That was Trevor Lawrence until last Sunday when Dak Prescott signed that $60 million contract. Between those two guys, they have 2 victories. 2 playoff wins. Patrick Mahomes have more Super Bowls than they do playoff wins. So the thing of it is look at it. Yeah, you want your money. I get that they want their money, but at the same time, how is Dak Prescott going to do? He's going to have to win a Super Bowl to get to be worth the pay. Trevor Lawrence last year just totally fell apart and got injured and everything else. And so this year, he kind of struggled a little bit, too.
I don't understand why Trevor Lawrence got all that money. He has not proven anything. C.J. Stroud, I like C.J. Stroud. I'll bank on C.J. Stroud. But Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, he can't win a postseason game. So what? I don't understand why they're paying him all this money. And in fact, I think the Cowboys need to find another quarterback.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, that's the issue. But the thing of it is, really, what other quarterback are you going to pay $60 million to?
None.
Because, I mean, look at the Giants.
The new quarterback for Nebraska. Let's pay that guy. Mahomes went to training camp with him and trained with him all winter long, and he throws and acts just like Patrick Mahomes. I think Nebraska has a quarterback there, but that's another day. Anyway, keep going.
Well, and Nebraska played Colorado, and that was another thing too. Yeah. So, well, heck, let's get into this. So Colorado and Nebraska played. Deion Sanders was down in Jackson State. He dominated down there, won. Do you think he bit off more than he could chew?
I think Deion Sanders is in a position where he does not need to be. I don't think he's coach material. I just don't.
But here's the other problem. He is just like every other superstar that tried to be a head coach. It doesn't work because you expect your players to play exactly how you did. Now, Deion Sanders as a player, he was phenomenal.
The best
he
of
was
the best.
He was the best cornerback. Nobody threw his way because they knew it would get picked and picked for a 6. And it just does not happen. And so now you're trying to train.
You're trying to make primetime players out of players that aren't primetime players.
Right.
And you can't do that.
And even his children. How many children have you seen that from a superstar, let's say Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Marvin Harrison? It just doesn't happen. You expect them to be like them, and people also put that expectation on them, so that puts the pressure twice as much on them as a regular person. It just doesn't happen. And with that beard, he looks older than me. He is actually a year younger than me. And look how good I look.
He's only like 62. Back on the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. But Nebraska, I still don't think, Colorado got beat by a Nebraska team that I did not think was that great of a team. And then they got to turn around. They got to play a Utah. They got to play a K-State, which I think K-State is actually better than Nebraska. Now, I am from the Show Me State, so Nebraska is going to have to show me. But if they do, then that's great.
I think, and I went to Nebraska, so I feel Nebraska has a pretty good chances this season of doing something, only because that quarterback's something special. It may not happen this year, but he's something special.
Right, but you also have to deal with what I was about ready to say Michigan, so I changed that. You got Ohio State. You've got
Texas put a whoop'em on them.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, they did. Yeah. And to try to get back into the game, you kick field goals when you're down 3 touchdowns. You do not do that. That Pee Wee League knows that you do not kick field goals when you're down touchdowns. Yeah. George Walker knows that. Don't you, Mr. Walker?
Hey, let's throw a screen pass on 3 and 29. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who did that in the NFL the other day? A screen pass on 3 and 29. Like, what are you thinking?
I have no idea.
I don't get it. I'll never understand that. But back to this Chiefs game, I think every time that Joe Burrow comes into what he calls Burrowhead, which we, debunked that, during the playoffs.
Well, but in his defense, it was the narrow-minded mayor. It was the mayor. I was trying to keep from getting beeped.
Yeah. So what do you say? Know your role, you jabroni. Is that what Kelsey said?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the mayor was the one that was saying it, not Joe. So I get that. But think about this, though. Joe Burrow, his average yards per attempt was lower than everybody else's but 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
Joshua Dobbs, Zach Wilson, and Bryce Young. The 3 worst quarterbacks in the league. And this was a guy that was just in the Super Bowl just 3 years prior.
Yeah. Something happened to him. They say it might be that wrist injury, but I don't care. It's like anytime you have an injury based on a hand or a foot or a knee, man, it's going to affect you. And I think it's in his head now. And I think after this season, I think Burrow and Cincinnati needs to make some decisions. And I got friends in Cincinnati on what his future is going to be there, because I just don't know if it's going to be in Cincinnati if he continues the way he's doing right now.
Well, here's the issue. Whenever a player, let's just say I'm an NFL player, I'm a good NFL player, I mess up my knee, it is not going to just take me a few months to get it healed up. It's going to take over a year to rehabilitate it, and then it's going to take another year. Well, and the mind too, but it's going to take another year of playing to get it back into the shape that you had. And sometimes you never get back that shape into that condition. So it's really, really difficult. And you got these players that are bigger, stronger, and faster. So if you're down, you're limping, you're 85%. I know there's some people that are better 85% than some of them that are 100%, Danny Dimes. But anyway,
that's another. Gosh. But New York, just find somewhere else to put that guy. Just put him as a water boy.
Oh, I think the water boy would fire him as a water boy. But anyway, but that's the point. You cannot. You have to be in tip-top shape. And so if his wrist is even sore, and yeah, they may have over-exaggerated maybe with him grabbing the water bottle and whatever, but the problem is that he throws a football. He has people coming down his throat, and the Chiefs are the defending champs, and they are going to come after him hard. And this is supposed to be the Chiefs' actually number one rival, because the Chiefs, outside of New England, the Cincinnati Bengals is the only team that has kept the Chiefs out of a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think this matchup this week, I think you're exactly right. I think it is kind of a rival, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. But I don't see any given Sunday. Got it.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I get it.
But statistically, this should be a game that the Chiefs should. That's what Cincinnati's thought about the Patriots. But this should be a win for us that shouldn't be that difficult. But you never know. Something we haven't talked about real quick is Worthy. What do you think of the Worthy?
Oh, my gosh, that is amazing. Now, Cincinnati defensive back was just saying he just runs straight lines. The man touched the ball 3 times and scored 2 touchdowns. And, in fact, on that sweep, he went around and then he just went right up the hill. And, I mean, he flew by people. I don't know which one was more impressive, the Tyreek Hill on the 80-yard touchdown when he blew by those 2 guys, or Worthy that blew by about 5 guys.
There's some truth to that. I mean, if you go straighter, you're going to go faster. You start cutting, you're going to slow down your speed. So I do understand that a little bit, but it doesn't matter. That guy's quick. That guy's fast. I don't know how the Bills lost another mistake, because they could have had Mahomes a few years ago, and now they could have had Worthy. I mean, the Bills just need to get some better, what do you call it, recruitment.
They need better management.
Right,
It sounds like my work, but we won't. That's another subject for another time too. So, but yeah, it just Worthy is just playing great, and I am looking forward to the Chiefs. And last year, the Chiefs struggled offensively into a Super Bowl title.
Yeah.
Now look at them; they are back to how they could be before Tyreek Hill, or when Tyreek Hill was there. So I'm telling you what, and if Cincinnati loses, now here's the thing. Ever since that they added the 2 playoffs, the one in each division, so there's 14 teams in the playoffs. Teams that are 0-2, there are 33 teams that were 0-2.
Oh yeah.
There's only 2 teams that made it to the playoffs. And one of them was Cincinnati a few years ago, and I cannot remember the other one offhand. But saying that, Cincinnati this is not a must game, but it's a very you need to get this game.
Yeah, in the last 3 years, Cincinnati started. Last 2 years, Cincinnati start off 0-2, and they don't want to do that again. I think Cincinnati's going to come hard at us. But I think we'll be prepared. I mean, you look at Rice, who was Mahomes' favorite target last week. I think you got people like Worthy. You're always going to have Kelsey, who's still going to be pretty good. And then you got Isaiah Pacheco, and then you can't forget the legs of Patrick Mahomes. I think that just opens up a little bit more for Rice to be even better, because I think that most of the focus is going to be on those other 3 key players and not as much as Rice.
Right, and the best thing about that is that you do not have to rely on Kelsey to catch every pass like he did last year,
because he's a blocker. He does everything.
Right, he does everything. So if you're throwing the ball to Watson, you're throwing the ball to Rice, you're throwing the ball to Pacheco, you get all those, and then when they're not paying attention, you start throwing it to Kelsey, and then you're like, oh my goodness,
there's so many weapons.
We are in trouble. Yeah. So I mean, it just everybody's in trouble. And if Cincinnati loses to this game, which I'm just going to tell you now, I'm picking the Chiefs to win. I don't think the Chiefs are going to blow them out like
35-21.
Like the New Orleans Saints, Carolina. And you were saying any given Sunday.
Yeah.
You forgot Carolina and the Giants.
Yeah. I'm still going to say I think we're going to score a lot of points. I don't think their defense can hold us at all. I'm going to say 35-21-ish, somewhere there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So tonight's game, speaking of Miami and Tyreek Hill, so you've got the Buffalo Bills and you got the Miami Dolphins. So Miami Dolphins, they struggled against Jacksonville. It took a turnover, a 14-point change of possession because Jacksonville was getting ready to score, and it almost reminds me of the Cleveland Browns Denver Bronco game where he fumbled into the end zone and lost the game. And then turned around, Tyreek Hill scores 80-yard touchdown pass and changes the game. That's Jacksonville. Miami is going to start playing better teams, but here's the thing. Josh Allen is 11-2 against Miami. They've only lost one game in the last 4 years or something like that.
Yeah, I think the Bills have Miami's number.
Mm-hmm.
I really do believe that. But Miami has Tua's a great quarterback. I just don't think we've seen the best out of him yet. I think he had the concussions that happened, so I think it's still. I don't think we've seen his best yet. Tyreek Hill, a chain. I mean, they have some great stars and some great players down there, and so I do think it's going to be a close game. And that's going to be probably within 3 or 4 points.
Well, I think the difference is going to be Miami's defense.
Yep.
If Miami's defense shows up, then they have a chance of beating the Buffalo Bills. But Josh Allen is, I would say, is like Patrick Mahomes, except for he's more of a runner than he is a passer. And they have receivers similar to Kansas City last year. But, Arizona looked like they were going to beat them, and then Josh Allen took over just like Patrick Mahomes would in a game and ended up winning the game. And he has, I believe, in 13 straight games against Miami, he has 2 touchdown passes. Not 2 touchdown rushes, 2 touchdown passes. So he's going to throw a couple of touchdown passes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So saying that, who do you have tonight?
I'm always going to take the Bills. I think the Bills are a better team.
Well, and since I'm wearing Stephon Diggs' Bill jersey, I have the Buffalo Bills too.
Is he still there? Did he get?
No, he went to Houston.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Right. Well,
and what a weapon for Stroud.
See, I got this after my fantasy football league. After he gave me like 50 points in the championship game, so I ended up getting the jersey. So, but saying that, I picked the Buffalo Bills. I say 24 to 14. Coach 24 also picks Buffalo Bills, and so does Max Gershon. And this past week, Coach 24 and I led everybody with a 14-2 record, and then Max was a couple of games behind us at 12-4. We even beat the NFL Network guys. I think Kurt Warner was the only one with 2 losses, but I didn't know how he did against Kansas City, Green Bay, Philadelphia, and Monday Night Football. So with that, we are at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Another great show, Shane.
Always.
And we'll do it again next week. So with Coach 24, Darwin Penny, DJ Scatter, George Walker, Shane Allen, and myself, Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal NFL football weekend.